Hey y'all, welcome in. Welcome in. It's great to be back up here with y'all. Whether you're watching this live with me or you're watching this recorded, thank you for joining me. I'm so happy that y'all are here with me. I'm gonna give you 4 minutes to come in. Put this. All right, let's see. A couple more minutes. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Welcome, welcome. Thank y'all for taking a bit of time out to come chat with me today on this Wednesday. I hope y'all are taking care of yourselves and just getting some rest, making sure that you're getting rest because that's super important. How are y'all doing tonight? Let me do a quick little check-in. How are y'all doing? How's your week been? Thanks so much for joining me. Again, we'll be talking about seasonal depression, also known as seasonal affective disorder. And my name is Regine, for those of you who may not know. I'm the founder of Melanated and Misunderstood, a safe space that I created for Black and brown individuals to go and heal and to know that it's okay to, have mental health issues or have things going on, and that there's always someone there that will listen and that is able to help. So I'm glad that y'all are here. Hey y'all. All right, so I'm gonna get started. Let's talk a little bit about seasonal depression. Depression is basically when the seasons change, certain people experience certain symptoms. And so they're the same symptoms as major depressive disorder. But the difference here is that more often than not, the people who suffer with seasonal depression, they experience this only in like the winter, fall months. So more often than not, like their year is fine. Like they may not experience depression symptoms throughout the year. Seasons change and go into these later months where there's less sun outside during the day. That's when those depression symptoms like kick in. And so when you think about how sunlight affects the body and the different ways that being able to be outside or get that fresh air or get that sunlight, what that can do and how that can help. A lot of people don't think about that. And so when we think about melatonin, that's something that came up a lot when I was reading about seasonal depression. And it's basically that there is an increase in melatonin during these winter months and fall months. And so that helps to regulate the sleep cycle. And so when you have that increase in melatonin, like your sleep cycles are messed up, like you can either have insomnia or you're just not able to sleep. So it can really affect your body in different ways. And so when you have an increase in melatonin, that increases your sleepiness or your likeliness to just feel really day and feel, really down. This week has been okay. Good, I'm glad to hear it. I hope it gets better. Yes. And so the body is affected by the sunlight in a lot of different ways. And so that's just one of the ways. And there is little research that says that their serotonin levels are also affected when this is happening, when people are going through seasonal depression. And so there's a decrease in serotonin where we had an increase in the melatonin, that increase led to more sleepiness, the decrease in serotonin. And so serotonin affects the mood and affects ability to sleep. But when it's abnormal, when it's messed up, when the levels are too high or too low, that affects how much sleep someone can get. And so there are a lot of things, like I said, in the body that are affected. And so who is affected by seasonal depression? So we talked who was affected by it. And more often than not, it is younger people that are affected by it. So you have like adolescents, mid-20s and on, are more likely to be affected by seasonal depression. And that's not to say that older people can't also be affected by it, but that's just saying due to the research that they have out there, it seems like it affects younger people more often. And so other factors that can play a role in having seasonal depression is family history of mental illness, such as major depressive disorder or bipolar disorder. So if you have someone in your family that suffers with mental illness, a lot of times you become predisposed to these different things. And so it's not your fault, and you shouldn't think that any of these things are your fault, but it's good to know where these things come from and whether it's genetic or, things like that. It's good to know. And how far you live from the equator. So like I said, seasonal depression, it kicks in when the seasons are changing. And so the less amount of sunlight that you have during the day, the farther away you are from the equator, that gives you more downtime, that nighttime. And so with the darkness comes those feelings of isolation or those feelings of sadness, that gloomy feel. And so how your distance from the equator also plays a factor. And also, with African Americans specifically, with the stigma and everything surrounding it and the little amount of research that there is, it's led to this kind of lack of awareness in a large number of the African American population. So we're out here and we have these different symptoms and these different things, and we're realizing, hey, this is only happening to me in the fall, in the winter, like after summer's over and it starts to get I'm starting to feel this way, but I'm not really sure why I feel this way. And so that lack of awareness, only because of a lack of knowledge, is really why people struggle with this and they don't know what to do, or they don't know how to get help. Does seasonal depression always coexist with regular depression? It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. And like I said before at the beginning, like seasonal depression is different from major depressive disorder in that it only shows up as the seasons change. So you can even have seasonal depression in the spring and summer months, but not have it show up in any of the fall or winter months, and vice versa. So that's how it differs from regular depression. And so for them to coexist, you would more likely just be diagnosed with major depressive disorder as opposed to seasonal depression, because it kind of encompasses everything. But great question. Hello, y'all, again. Welcome in. Sorry. And let me know if I'm going too fast, because, I'm passionate about it, so I start to speak, and it's just like, but I want to make sure that y'all understand what I'm saying. And so, yes, so African Americans, we don't have this awareness that this is what, like we haven't been able to put a name to what we've been feeling. And so this means that we're less likely to seek professional help, because we may just think, oh, winter blues, or I just get stuck in this little funk that I like every time around Christmas time or every time around Thanksgiving. Like, this is just that I have, and we don't pay much attention to it. But in fact, this is actually something, it's real, it's completely normal, and everyone, like a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people do experience this. So it's okay, and it's just good to know. It's good to have that knowledge. And so what are some of the symptoms? So the symptoms do kind of look like the symptoms of major depressive disorder, where you have the issue sleeping, like I said. So you could either be sleeping too much, which like during the day a lot. That's why they say you should try to get up and get some sunlight within the first couple hours of the day if you do have seasonal depression, so that you could just immediately just immerse your body and, wake yourself up and just get as much sunlight as possible. Overeating or undereating, just your eating habits and your sleeping habits are really, really affected with seasonal depression. Lack of energy, lack of interest in things that you used to do. So if you used to, maybe not and everything, but if you used to go out with your girls or your guys every weekend, and used to just hang out, and now it's like, I don't really feel like doing that, or anything that you're passionate about that you just love to do, and then all of a sudden you feel like I don't really have the energy to do that, that could be a sign that maybe something deeper is going on. Focus, so it's really hard for you to concentrate, whether it's work or school, or even just you're watching TV and you find yourself drifting off, and you're finding it hard to like focus on. That's also a symptom. of seasonal depression. Changes in weight, so that comes from maybe you're eating just to kind of comfort yourself, or you're not eating, so your weight is fluctuating as well. And then suicidal thoughts or behaviors is also another symptom of seasonal depression. And like I said, all of these are also symptoms of depressive disorder, but these would just show up when those seasons change. That's the only difference. And so someone did DM and ask about coping for seasonal. Y'all, I see y'all still coming in. Thank you for joining me. So coping mechanisms for seasonal depression. And if y'all have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in there. I will try to, bounce back and forth. But thank you so much for being here. So coping skills for having seasonal depression. Of course, first things first, I'm gonna say talk therapy. That would be the ideal thing, because this way you'll have somebody that you can talk to about your emotions, you can process, and they can help you identify any negative thoughts or behaviors that may be causing you to feel worse, or maybe causing it to be more difficult for you to move through this seasonal depression. A lot of things I read talked about light therapy, but there's not a lot of research on whether or not that's really helpful with seasonal depression, just because it's kind of relatively new. And so some people have said that they've seen improvement, some people have said that they haven't. So that's just one of the things that people have to help with seasonal depression. Hey y'all. And of course the light therapy helps because, like I said, exposure to sunlight really, boosts mood in more ways than one. And so having that ability to have the light shine on you has shown to be helpful. And then moving on, like I said, I'm gonna keep saying this, getting as much sunlight as you can is important. I know a lot of times when you're depressed, it might even be hard for you to get out of bed. But if you could just kind of force yourself to move to a window and just sit next to the window, or just sit in the backyard. You don't have to necessarily go on a walk and do all this extra stuff, but just try to make a little effort to get yourself out of bed and just to get some fresh air and get some of that sunlight. It'll help you. It'll improve over time. You'll see that it's improving just the way you live, your wellness, just doing a lot better when you get that sunlight. Stay connected. A lot of times too, when we suffer with depression or seasonal depression, we ask ourselves whether or not we're doing it on purpose. That's another thing, but people may reach out to us or people may not reach out to us, and we are not making an effort to reach out to them because we may think that we're all alone, or we don't want to be a burden to someone. And so a coping skill for having seasonal depression is reaching out, just being intentional about saying, okay, I know alone. I know I have these people that care for me. I need to reach out to them. And if you're there for people, if you show up for people when they're down or they're not things going on in their life, then if they're good for you, they will return the favor. They will reciprocate that energy. And if they don't, then you need to look at that as well, because friendships should go both ways. Romantic relationships should go both ways. Relationships are 50-50, but that's a whole other conversation. We're talking about one thing. I'm sorry, got off track. So stay connected. And I know with COVID and everything, it's harder to see people. It's hard to connect with people the way that I know I like. I don't like the virtual thing. I prefer to be face to face. And so where before COVID, you would be able to hang out with someone or invite somebody over to hang out with you if you don't feel like you have the energy to leave. Now it's more difficult. So still try to connect virtually if you can. Text someone if you don't feel like you can talk on the phone, or talk on the phone if you don't feel like you can Skype. Find a way to connect with someone, even if it's just to say, hey, I'm not feeling that great, but I just want to let you know, just so you know, because anything can happen, and you don't want to just be out here trying to go through things on your own, especially if you don't have to. There's always someone here for you, whether it's a professional to help you or a friend or family member. So definitely make sure you reach out. You are so right about the sunlight. Thinking about it now, it does help. Good. Oh, word, I definitely keep to myself. Yeah. Typo. Yeah. I got you, sis. I understood what you meant. Yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm literally the same way. I get upset, and it's very I want to go through this on my own. I don't want to stress anybody else. All this extra stuff. And that's not even the case. That's not even the case. It doesn't even be like that. But we get in our heads, we start thinking different things, and it's just a cycle. So stay connected as much as you can. And hold on to those relationships that make you feel good about yourself. People who compliment you, people who lift you up, who inspire you, who have been there for you. Having toxic relationships and having, people in your space and in your energy and everything like that, it's just doesn't help the healing process at all. It makes it more difficult, actually. So just make sure that the people you keeping around you are good for you. And that's another conversation that we can have. I keep going back to these relationships, so somebody write this down and keep me accountable. Exercising or staying active is another coping mechanism for seasonal depression. If it's getting colder and things like that where you're living, it might not be easy to go work out. Or if you're depressed, of course you're not going to get in your car and go to the gym. So just do what you can to stay active. Whether you got to get up and walk around your house, you got to do some yoga in your living room, or just making sure that your body is moving and that you're staying active is extremely important, especially with COVID and everything that's going on right now. Our bodies, when we just lay still or we just sit around, they're dormant. That's when disease and everything, they just try to have a field day, and we can't let them win. And that's the same thing with mental illness. We cannot let it win. We will not let it win. So definitely just stay as active as you possibly can, and just push through it. I know it's hard. I know, I understand, but if you could just get through it and take it one step at a time, it'll be fine. You'll get through it. And lastly, but not least, of course, for some people, medication is the only thing that will work. Antidepressants or anything else that will help with some of the symptoms, it'll improve things. Sometimes a lot of these other coping mechanisms may not work. Like I said, everyone's different. So what works for you may not work for someone else. But a lot of times people have said that medication has helped them. And with medication, you have to know that you need to be patient because it takes a while for your body to adjust. So don't expect anything to happen. With anything, nothing happens overnight. Nothing worth having. So definitely just make sure that if that is the route that you want to go down, that you have enough knowledge about, what you're putting into your body, and just you've explored all other avenues for your healing. Do y'all have any questions? Definitely need to have a chat about healthy, unhealthy relationships. That's T. Yep. Yeah. Oh, reunions. I love reunions. Okay, and so I was talking a little bit about, I don't want to keep y'all too long, but we're good. I'm talking too fast. With COVID, like I was before, it's become more difficult to connect. It's become more difficult to feel connected, and that's really what it is, that connection. We could be sitting around people all day, or we could be in a crowded room and still feel like we're by ourselves, like we're alone. So that feeling of connection to other people is really super important with this time. So that might exacerbate, these are some things that might exacerbate your symptoms if you are suffering with seasonal depression. What do you think about vitamins and supplements? That would be a whole other conversation as well. Let me see, how can I shorten it? I will say everything in moderation, and you should make sure that you know exactly what you're putting into your bodies. That's what I will say about that, because I definitely, grew up on the Flintstone gummies. We was all out here eating the vitamins and stuff, and I turned out fine. So I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with it, but I do think balance is important, as with everything. And just, if there are other ways, I feel like if you could find other ways, because, I'd be looking up, what can I make at home that can, get rid of this cough, or, whatever you're looking up. There is always a remedy that you can find that doesn't require something man-made to be put into your body. But that's all I'm gonna say about that. Great question though. Thank you. Allow yourself to experience these emotions. So if you are depressed, if you deal with major depressive disorder, so you're dealing with this throughout the years, not just when the seasons change, or if you are suffering with seasonal depression, really anything that comes your way, life-related, mental illness-related, allow yourself to feel these emotions, but don't allow these emotions to take over. So there's a difference in sitting with the emotions that you're having, processing things, allowing yourself to feel, not shutting yourself down. If you're if you're crying, but letting yourself cry, just letting yourself express how you're feeling, because more often than not, the damage is done when you try to hold things in. So being able to express these emotions are extremely important, but don't let them take over. Don't allow them to keep you down or make you feel like you're not worthy or make you feel like nothing will ever be good again. But just let them be lessons for you. Let them help grow through those things instead of just going through it, grow through it. So yeah. And then of course, with COVID and maybe not being able to travel home for the holidays, or maybe you've lost a family member during this year, 2020 at all, to anything really. There are different things that can kind of exacerbate the feelings of just being depressed, which is already so much. And so having to deal with, man, I can't even go home for Thanksgiving, or I can't even go home for Christmas because traveling is just a little sketchy right now, to be completely honest with you. Or I lost someone that I really cared about. I couldn't even attend their funeral, or just any thoughts, any traumas, because that's real too. Trauma surrounding the holidays can really exacerbate the symptoms that you have with seasonal depression. So it's important to have coping skills and coping mechanisms in place early on, really, so that when the seasons do change and you know that these things are coming, that you'll be better prepared. But of course, that's easier said than done because a lot of people may not necessarily know what's going on with them, or they're just so used to just stuffing everything down and not really, letting anything out or expressing themselves. And so, now is the time to take charge of your mental health. Now is the time to take charge of your life, and just, one step at a time. It's never a thing where you have to have everything all figured out all at one time. That's not even what it is. No one's perfect. We all make mistakes, but we have to give ourselves grace. We have to love ourselves, period. That's the most important thing. If we start there and we love ourselves for who we are, flaws and all, then we will find healing. We will move towards healing. We will make healing a priority. So I don't remember why I went on that tangent, but definitely remember all of those things. I love all of y'all so much. And I just want you to make sure that you're out here taking care of yourselves, because there is a lot going on in the world, and we can either, let it make us mean and let it ruin our lives, or we can turn it into something amazing. There's so much time left in 2020 that we can utilize all of it to do anything that we've been wanting to do. So just make sure that you're pushing through, making sure that and I know, like I said before, I know it's not that simple. I know that it's difficult, especially if you suffer with depression and it's extreme and, and you have other things on top of it. I get that. But just trying to wake up in the morning and, open the blinds to get that sunlight in, or just, meditating first thing in the morning, or praying first thing in the morning, just trying to start your days off the way you want the rest of the day to go, and just try to be positive as possible. Even if you need to say things that you don't necessarily believe that are positive, just say them until you believe them. That's really all you need to do, one step at a time. So, hey y'all. I wish I could heart y'all back. This is me hearting y'all back. I appreciate all of you. So what happens if seasonal depression continues to go untreated? In most cases, social isolation. So people, like I said before, tend to isolate themselves. And so the longer that you do that, the more comfortable you'll get with it. And you'll just do it out of habit. I don't need to reach out to people. I don't need to hang out with people. I can be good by myself. When in actuality, that connection is something that you're yearning for, something that you're wanting, but something is keeping you from, seeking it. So, yeah. And then difficulties in school and work. So like I said, that issue with concentration and focus, that affects how you show up at work, that affects how you show up at school, any social events, however, in your relationships, it affects how you show up in your relationships. So definitely seeking help is important to do early on. Substance abuse. So just turning to substances for numbing purposes or to make you feel better, whatever the case may be. That is another kind of thing. That's another thing that comes if seasonal depression is not treated. So make sure that you are seeking help and at least reaching out to someone to help you if you can't do it yourself. Anxiety, eating disorders, different things that come from having seasonal depression or major depressive disorder. And all of these things affect the way you show up in your life too. And it's like one thing connects to the other thing. Like everything is connected. And so even with mental illness, if you have major depressive disorder, you may be suffering with other things the longer you go without having it checked and having it, being able to work on those things, those issues that you're having. And so you don't want your mental health to affect your physical health and your spiritual health. You want to make sure that you're wholly, you are well, and that you are taking care of yourself in the way that your mind, body, and soul need you to. And then, of course, suicidal thoughts and behaviors, like I said before, it's extremely prevalent in people with major depressive disorder. And so with seasonal depression, it shows up as well. And more so if you go untreated or you don't, talk to someone or express how you're feeling, you have these thoughts of suicide. And so just make sure that you are reaching out to people and knowing that you are not alone. And if you're up here and you know someone that has had these symptoms that I've been talking about, or they've been acting that way, and you just noticed it when the seasons change, or you just feel like something's a little off, check in with them. A lot of times people are afraid to ask, hey, are you thinking about suicide? Hey, what's going on with you? Is there something you want to talk about? Because of the stigma and because of just, being uncomfortable. It's natural to be uncomfortable, especially if you're not trained in certain things or you're not used to having that conversation. And so just know that it's okay and it's necessary to have the conversation. And the only way that we can work through this as a people and we can bring each other up and we can make sure that our mental health is on point is by having these necessary conversations. And so thank y'all for joining. And so just check in with your friends, even the ones who seem to have it together, because a lot of people are able to hide their depression or hide their mental illness really well. So just check in with your friends, check in with your loved ones, and check in with yourself too. I know a lot of times, like in my past, I tried to deny that I was going through something. I tried to be like, well, this is just a funk. Like, I just need to eat something. Like, I had these little excuses for why I didn't want to get out of bed for days, or I didn't have the energy to do things that I used to do, like with ease. And so I eventually had to sit down with myself and, of course, a therapist, and just be like, okay, sis, there is no way that you can come out here and help other people with their healing if you can't even sit there and identify what's going on with you. And so the first step would be to, give it a name. And that's what I'm trying to help y'all do. That's what I'm trying to help our people do is, just put a name to these feelings that you're having. And sometimes that's the first step to getting that healing that you need, to setting up a meeting with a therapist, or, starting journaling or meditation, just any shift in your life that can really improve it. The first step is just sitting with yourself and understanding I have these issues, but I can deal with them, and they're not who I am. And so if you are suffering with seasonal depression or major depressive disorder, anxiety, really any mental illness, anything, just make sure that you're not isolating yourself, especially now with everything that's going on. It might be harder for you to connect with people or feel connected, but just know that you're not alone. Don't be afraid to reach out. There are hotlines. There are, my website has a lot of different resources that you can check out. And just know that you're not alone. There are a lot of people in the world dealing with some of the same things. And even if their experience isn't exactly the same, they are still struggling. And so just, take that step. Take that step. It may be hard now, but down the line, you'll be glad that you did. If do y'all have any questions? I'm so happy that y'all are here. I don't want to keep y'all too long. I just wanted to stop by and chat. Thank y'all for joining me. And if y'all have anything that you want to know more about, or you want to talk about, or anything, please DM me. I would love to, I'm trying to make this a thing. So anything that y'all want to talk about or learn about, very informative. Oh, thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. I be up here trying to use my, my intelligence. I be trying to speak, but I really just be chilling. We stopping by for you, Queen. Oh, y'all are sweet. Y'all are sweet. Well, if y'all don't have any questions, I guess this is goodbye. I hope y'all learned things. I really appreciate all of you, those who are watching live, those who are not watching live. I will be putting this on my Instagram, so please stop by and check it out. Leave me comments, DM me. Yeah, let me know anything. Please take care of yourselves. Self-care, 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 self-care. Just do it. Just do it. Try to make time for it. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Just, taking a deep breath during a busy work day is self-care. So just make time for yourself. Plug yourself. Okay. Oh, my website is www.melanatedandmisunderstood.com. I designed it myself, so check it out. Let me know what you think. There are some playlists up there as well. I tried to make playlists for different moods. I'm working on them. Life is just happening a lot right now, so it's a slow process, but we're still moving. We're still moving forward, so that's all that matters. Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to put in here the code I have for J to Shay tea spot. So get you some tea, because y'all already know how I feel about tea, so I don't even need to really say it again. But that is the code if you want 10% off anything above $30. They got tea, they got things to steep the tea in, they got a little gift pack. Just check it out, jvtoshay.com. I'll put it in here. And you get 10% off with my code. I love y'all so much. I really appreciate y'all. Please, like I said, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with your healing. Yeah. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for spending time with me. Y'all have a great rest of your evening. Bye.